This is John Cola with growingyourgreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. I'm back here in beautiful Puerto Rico, United States, and I'm here for another update for you guys with Jean Marie Chocolat, Cacao de Puerto Rico. That basically says Cacao of Puerto Rico. Cacao is what they make chocolate out of, and Jean Marie Chocolat, the owner Juan, has literally been instrumental to bring back the cacao farming business to Puerto Rico. If you guys are looking and have extra money and want to invest in a farm here in Puerto Rico, they now have land available for sale and can even sell you the trees that I'll show you guys behind us. So I think you could actually start profiting or get your make money back in about 4 years based on the production that they get from these trees. So first up, we're gonna show you guys more about the division of Jean Marie Chocolat that is specifically growing the best high quality cacao trees that they will sell you, so that, and you could get a guaranteed revenue or income because they will also buy all the beans back from you because they know they're selling you guys the best trees. This way, farming can now be sustainable, whereas most farms, they gotta plant stuff and then they gotta sell whatever they're making. Whether they're trying to sell their corn or soybeans to some foreign countries and it's just not working because the market's crashed, or whether you gotta take it to the farmer's market, right? These are ways of maybe not the best ways of farming. The best ways of farming is when you get sold the trees and the people selling you the trees says, we're gonna buy back all the cacao you can produce, so you're really not gonna lose. So yeah, this is the farming for people that don't want to lose their money. Start growing cacao in Puerto Rico. So let's learn more today. All right guys, so where we're at today specifically, we're here in Mayagüez, and actually this is old sugarcane land. There's a sugarcane processing factory over there that's now dilapidated, and this land was formerly used to grow sugarcane, and now it's gonna be used for cacao production and propagation. And we are at the Cuerdas, Verdes Cacao, that's CVCN, and you can check them out online at cbx.market. And at cbx.market, you will find a market where they will buy your cacao on the island here. They will also sell you the trees so you can start your own cacao farm. And in addition, they have farm properties available that have already been vetted, and you can buy and start growing cacao and have a farm here in Puerto Rico. Literally, you just need to show up with the money, and this is a turnkey system where you can make your money back fairly quickly growing cacao based on the market demand that keeps growing. What I will say is that from all the places in the United States, Puerto Rico grows the most quantity at the best prices for high-end cacao. And that's what I'm not telling you guys, right? Africa and other places around the world maybe grow like 70% of the world's cacao, and they like set the price, but they have like, you know, low grade cacao. It's chocolate, right? Companies buy it and then they flavor it, add a lot of sugar and other flavors to make it taste good, and then they sell it to you. What you guys are gonna get here in Puerto Rico, right, because they're growing the trees that you'll see in a minute, are the best, some of the best Trinitario varieties of cacao that have very complex flavor notes, whether it tastes more florally, more flowery, and that's really what they're focusing on here. They're not focusing on the 70% cacao that you could get, you know, for cheaper somewhere else. They're focusing on the high-end cacao that they've already been shipping to the United States and working on getting shipped to some of the chocolatiers over in Europe when they get their production up. So anyway, let's learn more about the CVCN nursery and farm here today. All right guys, so now I'm gonna show you guys the journey of how cacao gets to be from the seed out of a fruit, right, into a baby tree that then can move out to farmers. This is a process that can take about 5 months, and at 4 to 5 months is when they wanna get the trees out of the shade house and then in to the fields, into the farms, so that farmers can plant them. And we're gonna show you guys the entire process. The one thing I will say is that cacao is one of the most sustainable crops you can grow here in Puerto Rico. It'll exist with natural rainfall without any additional irrigation once it is properly set up and established, right? This can save you guys lots of money in the watering alone. In addition, of course, here at the nursery, they are using rain catchment to water the cacao plants, which is one of the best water to use for plants, not out of irrigation, but plants love the rainwater. That's how they would get watered naturally. So let's check out this shade house. All right, guys, so this is literally where it all starts, right? They harvest fresh cacao that's ripe and ready to go, and more importantly, these are selected varieties that have grown this cacao from like grafted trees, so they know the quality, and now they're going to use the fruit of these selected varieties to grow the seedlings out. So they bring these here and they dump them out, and then they have the ripe cacao. You guys can see all the amazing cacao here, and these cacao is not used for chocolate. Instead, it is used for the valuable seed inside that produces all the trees you see behind me. There's like 18 to 20,000 trees in this shade house at this time. So now I want to show you guys how this cacao fruit turns into the cacao trees behind me. So first, you got to take a machete and don't chop your hand off, but you want to just cut it a little bit. Once you cut it, you can snap it in half. Let's use my knee. All right, or you damaged it. All right, look, there you go, guys. This is the cacao fruit that unfortunately in the industry is not used and a waste product. To me, this is the healthiest and most delicious part of the fruit. So since I opened this, I just got to eat one. Eating the fruit. So right now I'm just sucking off the fruit off the seed. It's delicious, guys. It's hard to explain the flavor. It tastes like a lychee plus pineapple plus banana at the same time. So I got most of the fruit off anyways. There's a seed that's normally used, but normally they don't even, taste the fruit because they've done that so much. They take the seeds over here and then they basically literally take the seeds with the fruit flesh on it and they put it in the plastic grow bag. So let's see how to do that. So they got their grow bags here and they have like a PVC pipe here and they basically just scoop the soil and it goes into the grow bag up to the top, and then they take a fresh cacao and just dump it in there. Now this is ready to go out and get watered and will grow into a tree. So think about that next time you guys eat a chocolate bar. All those cacao seeds that were used to make your chocolate bar could have been trees, but now you ate it. All right, guys, so after literally just 3 weeks, these cacaos are literally popping. They're not like pop dancing or break dancing. They are literally popping out of the soil. These guys germinate rather quickly, and even at just 3 weeks old, this is what the plants look like. It's very interesting. I mean, cacaos technically are a bean, and the bean or the seed is basically used as the storage. It is the food for the plant that is going to be coming up now. So you can see as it sprouts and germinates, we'll show you a couple different stages. This is like right when it pops out of the ground, it's just creating that stem, and then it comes up. This is a little bit further along. You can see literally the bean breaks in half, and literally the plant like puts its like tendrils in there and is sucking out the nutrition from the cacao seed to basically drive the growth of the baby greens. You can see this is a little bit more further along, still sucking the nutrients out of here to make the baby leaves. And right here you can see there's even more leaves forming, and pretty soon the bean will basically just drop off because it's no longer needed, because the plant has now gotten a root structure that is then getting nutrients from the soil. Cacaos are very tolerant of different amount of soil. They don't use like any fertilizers in this whole process. They basically put the dirt in the bag, put the seeds in, and the cacao grows great. So let me show you guys. These are a little bit further along back here. These plants are further along, maybe like a little bit over a month here, and you can see the beans just about to drop off. On here, on this one, the bean has actually already dropped off because now it's no longer needed, because now the tree has roots, no longer needs the nutrition from the bean itself. And you guys can see These ones are probably a little bit over a month. And then over at this stage here, maybe this is pushing maybe like 2.5, 3 months over here. So they're almost getting ready to be sold at 4 to 5 months. So let me show you guys the 4 to 5 monthers. And all these in here, at this point when I'm visiting, they're all currently selected seedlings, right, from the good varieties of cacao. But also they have done in the past and in the future, they will use all these seedling rootstocks for grafting as well to get, verified cultivars. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, John, why do they sell all the seedlings? It's cheaper to produce that way. Well, here's the thing, right? Here in Puerto Rico, they've been through hurricanes, like literally they've been through hurricanes, right? Puerto Ricans, I will say, are very resilient, right? And they're like this with the cacao here. They want to create resiliency. If they use the same exact genetic clone like they do for bananas, like Cavendish bananas, pretty much the only banana, if you go into a supermarket in the United States, you could buy the Cavendish, which I think tastes horrible, especially after eating plantain earlier here in the field, as well as apple bananas, ice cream bananas, baby bananas here on the island on this trip. They want to have genetic diversity and not just a monocrop, right? So by basically using selected seedlings that have the traits and especially those good flavor tones, right? But also, having seedlings, they're creating more genetic diversity so that they can be more resilient in the future and create new and more exciting flavors as well. So yeah, that's the goal here. And I really applaud that. They're not just growing all the same exact clone that they got from, the USDA who did all the research on these varieties many years ago. All right, guys, so these ones are actually slated to be picked up today by a local farmer who is buying like literally 3,000 cacao trees to start his own cacao orchard there. And it's amazing to me how many trees like fit in a small space when they're just being grown in these tiny little grow bags. These are now literally field ready 4 to 5 month old cacao plants, and they grow very fast. These selective varieties can even start to be producing in about 1 year. And I'm like, no way, man, cacao normally takes about 2 years to produce. Let's see how these can start producing in 1 year. I'm gonna take you guys to the field out back. Next up, I wanna show you guys an example field that is gonna show a few things. The first thing is that this area is specifically made for growing propagation materials from selected cacaos that they could use for cutting and then doing grafting inside the greenhouse. In addition, it also acts as a demonstration of how you can monetize cacao, and once you start growing cacao, how you can literally start making an income in 10 months by growing something along with your cacao that is literally the cash crop that you can grow along with cacao. And here they're actually doing plantain bananas, but they also have invented other systems to grow avocados with cacao, or grow ramutans with cacao, or other fruit producing trees with cacao, so you could actually, double your revenue by growing more than just one kind of tree in the same exact space. All right, guys, so how you can increase your revenue is by growing bananas. And here's the thing, right? They don't do monocultures here, right? They want to grow more than monocultures. Whether you have an existing forest like I do, and I'm actually planting cacao in the shade of my forest and selectively pruning out specific forest trees, of course, if you have flat land, which would be a better farming investment because it's a lot, easier than selectively pruning out trees, you could just take the land and then you can grow plantains, which grow very quickly and will produce for you in 10 months. But besides just making a revenue for you, it's actually quite important to grow plantains or have other tall overstory trees when growing cacao. Cacao does not like full sun. They like about 30% shade. Maybe depending on your slope, if you live on a slope, the sun will hit, your cacao for half of the day, which is good, and then the other half of the day, they're shaded out, which is totally fine. Actually, cacao prefers that. It's gonna get too burnt if the sun's hitting it 24 or, all day long. So here, they've planted the cacao 4 feet apart, but this is only because they are going to be keeping these cacao short. These are not for production. These are for grafting material. So they're doing 4-foot spacing. That being said, if you're growing them on a farm at commercial scale and you want the most production, then you want to space them like these two right here. They are an 8-foot spacing on an 8-foot square. You could fit a lot of cacao trees in an 8-foot square because when they're full grown, they might span out like 4 feet each way and barely touch each other in the middle. Meanwhile, in between, you can plant the plantains. So let's show you guys some fresh plantains growing that they are now harvesting and able to sell. And I think here in Puerto Rico, plantains sell for like $1 each, which is pretty amazing. All right, guys, so what they're doing here is they got their cacao spaced out. And then in between the cacaos, like in the middle, like say there's like the number 5 on a dice, you got the 4 cacaos, 1 on each of the 4s, and then in the middle, you have the plantain that grows up, fast. That'll help provide the cacao some shade. The plantains are literally the cash crop here in Puerto Rico. Plantains are normally used when they're totally green. They're used green so they could produce very quickly. And when they're green, they're basically used as a starch crop. Puerto Ricans like to fry them up. You can make chips out of them. You can do so many different things with the plantain, but they're also very productive plants. Technically, plantains or bananas are not trees because they don't have any wood. They're like a soft tissue. They're more like an herbaceous crop. But you can see this bunch has a banana rack on it. And as soon as the bananas are ripe, the rack loses its life. And then meanwhile, the main plant sends up new babies. So you can see this is the next oldest baby that's gonna start producing soon. And then you can see here at the bottom, right? You have the new baby right here that's going to take the place of this guy one day. Then this baby, this is a baby here, this is a baby here, this is a baby here, there's another baby there. So all along, you can actually basically also harvest these babies, move them to other areas of your farm, or just sell these babies to somebody else that wants to grow plantains. So once again, you're creating, multiple revenue streams on your farm by not just selling the plantains, but also selling the plantain seedlings or the Keikis, the baby plants here. Anyways, most of you guys may believe falsely, unfortunately, that you could only eat plantains when they're green and unripe. I'm gonna prove you guys wrong, because when the plantains are ripe, and this is like the minimal ripeness, you'd wanna eat a plantain when it's spotted, but even the plantain is even better when this thing is all totally black. But let's go ahead and eat a plantain for you guys on camera. They're definitely more of a starchy banana. What I will say is when they're ripe like this, it's perfect time to basically harvest them and then freeze them in like a Ziploc bag in removing the air, so like a vacuum bag. And then you can use them for smoothies. These make incredible smoothies because it has a nice firm texture that adds like a nice milkshake consistency. All right, so let's go ahead and eat the plantain here. It's good, a little bit starchy. It's really like, it doesn't like melt in your mouth because it's quite thick, but definitely good. You should try a ripe plantain next time you're at your market, but only buy them if they're totally ripe, not if they're green. I kind of like that they're like yellowish, reddish on the inside, not like white, like modern Cavendish bananas that I hate so much. All right, guys, so now I want to show you guys something truly amazing. I mean, this field is not set up for production at all, right? It is set up for genetic grafting material. So what they do is they'll take a seedling once it's starting to grow, they'll cut it off, and then they'll come to the mother plant here and they'll cut this off, and they'll basically take this cutting here and then put it onto a new seedling rootstock. So they have the exact genetic variety they want, which in some cases is desirable. But as I said before, they want to create some resilience here in Puerto Rico and have a diversity of different genetic materials, all with a little bit, different flavors. Probably the main variety that they grow here actually was grown from a seedling plant that actually is one of the best varieties here in Puerto Rico. The other thing that's amazing to me is that cacao can take like 2 years to grow fruit, right? This plant is not very big. It's been here about only 1 year, and I want to show you guys something amazing. There's already cacao fruit starting to form on this little plant that can't be more than 2.5 feet tall, so check it out. So we're gonna raise up some of the leaves and check it out. Here are some of the first cacao fruits forming on this little baby plant. 1 year old, already producing. Now that's fast. All right guys, so as much as I love sharing with you guys this field where they're growing the plantains and the cacao, and once again, you know, the bananas serve us a few purposes actually for the cacao. Especially when young, cacao needs about 30% shade. So these bananas provide the shade. But more importantly, even when the cacao is more full size, they're not gonna remove all the bananas, right? While they may remove these plantains, they may put in some dwarf bananas. They're gonna stay short, because the reason for that is that the bananas actually also attract the beneficial insects, right? The little flies that will then pollinate the cacao. So it's very important, guys, for you guys to have the right crops planted with the other crops so that they can get higher pollination rates and once again create more fruit, which again then turns into more revenue. But at the same time, we are now also regreening and bringing farming back to Puerto Rico. That's very important. Me personally, when I go to the grocery store here in Puerto Rico, it makes me sad because a lot of the food, especially in the produce section, that they sell in the produce section is not grown in Puerto Rico. You know, I visit and have been visiting my local farmers markets, flea markets, and visiting my friend's farm so I can eat primarily the food grew here on island, right? And I encourage all other Puerto Ricans to grow their own food and also support Puerto Rican companies so you could actually not have imported food, especially in times of hurricane. My friend who lives here told me like the only food he could get after the hurricane was like at the Sizzler. That's basically imported food, right? Creating resiliency here in Puerto Rico and around the world is very important, and it's one of my personal missions, and that's why I'm making this one of the reasons why I'm making this video today, because I want you guys to become more resilient. And whether you live in Puerto Rico, grow some cacao, or no matter where you live, start growing some of your own food today so that you can have resiliency and also, you know, some of the best food that money can't buy. I think next we're gonna go ahead and head to the cacao farm where you can see some healthy producing trees at Jean Marie Chocolat. All right guys, so the second part of this video, we are here at Jean Marie Chocolat, the Hacienda, and one of their many farms that they own across the street. And actually the cool thing is, I was here literally 8 years ago now. Link down below to that original video that I filmed here 8 years ago so you guys can see how much these cacao trees have grown since I've been here. I remember when I was here 8 years ago, they were like this big. And now these are big daddy trees. The reason why I'm here at the farm now is because I want to show you guys how sustainable it is to grow cacao. Basically, by using the native soil plus all the material that the cacao tree produces, they feed the cacao back. And let's take you across the street and show you guys the nutrition the cacao needs, and more importantly, how cacao makes fruit all year here in Puerto Rico in this idyllic tropical climate. All right guys, so now I want to show you guys how cacao grows. We're here in the cacao orchard as I literally climb up this hill and slip back like on all these leaves. So there's a few points I want to show you guys here. Okay, first, number one is cacao produces year-round in this Goldilocks climate zone. We're so close to the equator, unlike some of you guys, right now it's winter time and it gets cold in the winter and hot in the summer. Closer to the equator, the temperature is stable all year. Here in beautiful Puerto Rico, it's basically 80s all year long, with maybe it gets a little bit cooler in like December and January. Despite getting cooler in December and January, cacao has a 12-month fruiting season. This means you're producing pods throughout the year. In some areas of the world, cacao will only have 2 main harvests. Here in Puerto Rico, you literally harvest every 2 weeks. You're harvesting your cash crop, your cacao off the trees. That being said, during the cooler months, maybe like December and January, it's maybe a little like a 30% drop in production because it gets a little bit colder, but nonetheless, your cacaos are still fruiting and producing for you guys the cash crop. The other thing that's really cool about cacao, as you see, I'm on this like steep incline, right? You don't need to, whoa, you don't, I'm sliding down the hill. Like literally, that was not planned, all right? But nonetheless, the cool thing is cacao grows on slopes just like this that you can't even climb up and you'll slide down, especially if it's mulched with leaves. Like they didn't put these leaves here, guys. Like the cacao basically drops the leaves and puts them down below the trees, right? No weeds are growing underneath these cacao, so you don't have to spray Roundup. You don't have to take your mower and mow between them, because if you plant your cacao trees 8 feet apart, the top touches each other, they drop the leaves when they get old, they mulch in place, they suppress the weeds, and more importantly, all these leaves break down into a fungal-dominated leaf mold compost without you, because it naturally rains, keeps it moist. This also helps the soil retain the moisture so that you don't have to irrigate your cacao. Cacao, in my opinion, is the best crop, especially if you want to make some cash, to grow in Puerto Rico, because it is so easy. And you could buy undesirable land, like this highly sloped land, to grow the cacao on. Except when you harvest it, you got to be careful because you might slip. So now I want to show you guys another way they fertilize the cacao trees, by not just using its leaves, but by also using the conch or the shell after they've done taking out the fruit and the pulp. All right, guys, so now I want to show you guys another fertilizer they use to grow the cacao, right? Think about it, right? In conventional agriculture, they have to bring in fertilizers to fertilize your crops, whatever it may be. They spray all kinds of pesticides and fertilizers to grow corn and soy inside the United States. They even use genetically modified soy that creates its own pesticides. And but here on the farm, right, after they harvest the cacao, they're left with the shell, also known as the conch. Now this conch could be food, actually. There are places that basically dry the conch and grind it into a powder for a fiber supplement, and unfortunately, most Americans are fiber deficient. So I encourage you guys to eat more whole food plants so you guys can get your fiber and be healthier. That being said, they have so much conch shells, they don't know what to do with them. Actually, they do. They have so many conch shells, they actually use them once they're taken apart. Once they harvest the cacao beans from it, they basically just drop them in big piles. These shells now compost in place and rot down. The one thing I might do a little bit differently than put the half conches is I personally would run it through a grinder first. This way you're gonna achieve two things. Number one, you're gonna make a place where water cannot collect. Basically, water can't collect in here if they're basically at the upright position, and then mosquitoes can breed. And two, by grinding it, you're gonna create a lot more surface area so that these compost a lot more quickly. That being said, even without grounding down, these will basically break down into compost, which then they'll spread out underneath the trees, in addition to the leaves that drop, to basically feed the cacao trees the fertilizer it needs to grow. Because think about it, the trees took up minerals, mined minerals out of the ground. It brings it up and puts it into its leaves, puts it into the conch, puts it into the seeds, which are then taken off site. But the conch and the leaves then now break down into the same exact minerals that these trees need to thrive. This way, it saves you from having to buy any fertilizer, right? The tree is making its own fertilizer. And in a forest system, right, but not in a monoculture system, this is how nature would work. And this is exactly how, cacao trees are grown here in Puerto Rico. Very low maintenance and in one of the easiest crops you guys can grow. So let's go ahead and show you guys what the composted conch looks like. All right, guys, so this is the conch shells that have been broken down for a significant period of time. And if I reach my hand in here, right, well, and I can keep going, I'm basically finding like black soil. This is like the black conches. There's a few pieces still left in here, but basically this is fully broken down compost. Once this compost on the side of the row, then they have the workers come in and shovel these and just toss it in the field where all the cacao trees are growing to literally fertilize the cacao with the broken down conch shell compost, as well as the leaves that compost right underneath them to prevent weeds and feed the cacao the exact nutrients it needs to be the most productive. So next part, I want to show you guys actually how productive these cacao fruits can be and show you guys a whole smattering of the cacao that's grown here on the farm, as well as from other local cacao farms. They come in a wide variety of shapes and colors. All right, guys, so as I told you guys, they harvest literally every 2 weeks, and here's their latest harvest in these bags here, and the cacao here, and they come in many different varieties and many different colors. I mean, me personally, I love, just look at these amazing red colors, or they have like, you know, the darker yellows here, or even like some lighter colors, and all like the shapes are so interesting. And once again, like I showed you guys, none of these pods will be wasted. They're gonna be opened up. The cacao seeds are taken out. They're processed here on the farm. If you guys want to see how that is done, link down below to one of my original videos here where I show you guys the whole process where they ferment these and shade dry these here on the farm. And then what you guys are going to see next is actually we're going to go to their brand new facility, their factory, where they process the cacao even further into final end products, including the best cacao powder you could buy in the world, which is basically from a whole food instead of a standard powder, which is the powders you would normally buy labeled cocoa powders in your local store. All right, guys, so for the last part of this video, we're gonna show you guys how the cacao being grown in Puerto Rico is being used. And Jean Marie Chocolat now has its own factory here where it is processing the cacao and making the best cacao products here in Puerto Rico. So let's head into the factory and show you guys how it works. All right, guys, so when the cacao comes in from the farm, they process it and ferment it off-site. And this is the fermented and shade-dried cacao beans. If you guys want to learn this process, links down below to my previous episodes I've filmed at Jean Marie Chocolat, so you guys can see the whole process. But basically, this is the finished cacao beans that are raw, that come in. After they come in raw, they need to further clean them, refine them, process them, depending on what product is leaving the factory. Now, I know when we all think about chocolate factory, what do you guys think about? What instantly comes to your mind? Instantly comes to your mind like, you know, Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory, right? And you see like big things of chocolate coming out the ceiling, a chocolate river, all these things. It's not happening here. They are into production and making good quality chocolate. So let me show you guys the some of the process of taking the beans that come in raw to the final end products that they create. All right, guys, so once the beans come in, the first step is they got to take it to this table. This is the cleaning table. Because these are all the beans that have been shade dried. They basically just pour them out. And then what happens is they spread these out, and any little small bits fall to the bottom, which is discarded. In addition, the workers come through here and look for any beans that are messed up. So like this is a messed up bean, it's not a full bean. Here's a little small piece. Any beans that are flat or deformed basically come out. Here's some flat pieces. Yeah, so basically they have some quality control to make sure you're getting only the best beans. So after the beans have been cleaned, right, this is where they then package them up and they're available for chocolatiers. So let's spin the camera around. After they clean the beans, they're then put into these 50-pound bags right here that then they will either further process into their own products or sell these to fine chocolatiers in the United States, Europe, and beyond. So So these are the best quality beans, fully clean, looking really nice. They could ship you guys these anywhere. And they've been sending containers of these beans to the United States so that in the United States, we can eat US grown chocolate, which is extremely rare. So besides selling these to chocolatiers, they also use these beans to process into their own products. And I'll explain to you guys how they do that. They basically take these beans, they're then roasted. Once they are roasted, then they basically sift off the outer hulls. Once the outer hulls are then cleaned off, then they take the roasted cacao and then they basically grind it in a melanger for 1 to 3 days. Then that block goes into the confectionery room, which then it is aged and then further ground down into their 100% cacao powder that is from the whole bean. Most powders you guys buy will be basically with the oil taken out. They don't do that here at Jean Marie Chocolate. Next up, I want to show you guys a product that, you know, in the industry, unfortunately, it's considered a waste product, but they are finding new uses of it here at Jean Marie Chocolate. Anyways, once the beans are roasted and they basically take off the husk, these are all the husks. Now, normally the husks are basically discarded or thrown away. For Jean Marie, they have been saving them. You know, I have used the husks before in my garden because it makes an excellent mulch, but make sure your dogs don't eat it because it can be toxic to them. But if I just, in here, I totally smell it because also there's really fine particulate of the nibs that came off because they're keeping like the large nib pieces. But these are all the small bits. And I found out that this could be used for tea. So it's a traditional tea where they do cacao husk tea. And maybe, you know, there's still nutrients in the cacao husk, like some of the caffeine and other properties and the minerals in there. This also can be maybe finely ground into a flour and then actually added to baked goods. So, you know, it's amazing all the uses of the cacao. The next area I'm gonna go into is show you guys their finished, ground up, whole cacao blocks, right? So to do that, I gotta suit up and put a hairnet on. And I gotta put the gloves on. Tally ho. All right guys, so now I'm gonna show you guys a confectionery and packaging room right here. And this is where all the work happens. Basically, after the cacao that they roasted and then ground up, separate out the husks that you guys saw. Then they grind up the cacao, the roasted cacao into the cacao liqueur. And then that's where they could actually, if they're making chocolate, they could pour it into molds and then sell 100% cacao bars, right? Pure chocolate bars, right? But they don't do that because they find like a lot of people don't like the 100% chocolate because people like it with like sugar. So what they do instead is then they basically take it out of the melanger and then they age it for 1 to 2 weeks. And that's what we have in this box. I can't even lift this box up. It's gonna break my back. It has to be over 100 pounds right there, guys. And this is the cacao blocks that then once aged, then they grind it up into their finished products that we have right here, and the shell is behind me, ready to get shipped out across the country to you or to be sold in local grocery stores such as the Pueblo that I visited actually on this trip myself. Anyways, this is a real special treat and I wish you guys were here because when I open this, it's gonna be completely insane. You know, you guys don't understand what real cacao could smell like that is grown here in Puerto Rico, right? So we're gonna close up because I wanna show you guys what this is, right? We're gonna open this up and instantly when I open this up, the room, literally, I'm not kidding, smells like pineapple. Like that's the aroma that is coming off this cacao that's grown in Puerto Rico because it is such high quality. Like it just smells so insane. The manager was telling me like last week's batch smelled like bananas. These are all the flavor profiles that you're gonna get grown in the rich soil here in Puerto Rico, harvested, processed in the best ways to maintain really the true essence of the cacao. Okay, so once this is aged, they grind it up into a powder, and that's how they make the products right next to me. So let me show you guys what they look like. All right, so in this box, we have the 100% pure cacao powder. And in this box here, we have the 55% cacao powder. Now, of course, the best-selling one here in Puerto Rico is the pure cacao powder that basically is the pure cacao block right next door, literally just ground up. I want you guys to understand that this is a lot different than the cocoa powder you will buy in the store. If you guys buy cocoa powder in the store, it's been processed with alkali, it's basically been defatted, and you're getting ripped off because it's no longer the whole food. It's a highly fractionated food that in many cases, or most cases, chocolate companies will use that and then add back like soybean oil and crappy oils. This has 100% cacao bean oil in there. Well, this one has 55% because the other part is sugar. So this is basically a premix that literally, if you heated this up, you melted it on your stove, it would melt, and then you basically solidified it in your fridge. You could make your own chocolate bars because this is 100% cacao with the sugar added. So that's all you have to do. And if you want 100% chocolate bars instead of 55%, right, because they added the sugar, this is the better deal because you could just this will remelt on your stove into the liquid that then you could form into bars. And of course, you could also add other ingredients. You could add your own sugar, add your own flavoring, add some vanilla extract if you want that, or grind up whole vanilla beans, put that in there, right? That's what this is, right? So let me show you guys what this is, because this is really special, right? I want you guys to know, when you guys buy cacao powder at the store, you want to look for this. It says whole cacao, right? Cacao puro, that's like 100% pure, and it's grown in Puerto Rico, right? I showed you guys where the trees start, how the pods are grown in this episode, and this is where this product ends up. I mean, they also sell a few different chocolate bars that they sell online on their website, but this is their #1 flagship product. All right, so let's go ahead and open the bag and show you guys what we got here, the cacao powder. Look at this. This is not a super fine powder. I mean, they grind this up and there's different particle sizes in here. I mean, once again, you melt this, it's gonna basically turn back into a chocolate bar, because literally this is 100% cacao nibs. Normally how this is used in Puerto Rico, they'll just basically add hot water to this, maybe a little bit of sugar, and make truly authentic hot chocolate. Today, I'm just gonna take a bunch of this and dump it in my mouth. Wow. This is true chocolate, guys. It's like, almost like making, it's almost like I'm eating chocolate, but I've chewed it up a little bit. Like, cause this is literally, I mean, you could like form this in a chocolate bar if you like pressed it out. It's just really good to eat. Anyways, to me, this is what true chocolate here in Puerto Rico is about. It's not about highly processed products. These are all natural, minimally processed products, so you get the most benefits from the cacao. Whether you're looking for the polyphenols, which there's plenty of studies on how beneficial chocolate polyphenols are. You know, the least the processing, the more polyphenols, the more health benefits, and more importantly, especially for the chefs out there, the higher the flavor, the better the flavor overtones, the flavor sensations you will get. And that's what you're gonna get when you get Jean Marie chocolate powder made from whole beans. So last interview, we're gonna interview Juan, the owner of Jean Marie Chocolate, to find out more. All right, so now we're here with Juan Echevarria, the owner, founder, and farmer who made this all possible. He's trying to bring back cacao farming to Puerto Rico so that Puerto Rico could have the best cacao in the entire world, all right? So Juan, I want to ask you some questions. So why are you so passionate about cacao and getting and making new farmers here in Puerto Rico to grow cacao so that you can now start exporting the cacao from Puerto Rico all across the world?
Well, really appreciate a lot your opportunity to be here and explain that to the people. Really, we got a cacao industry in the 17th, 18th century, and that disappeared in the 20th century. So we don't know farming cacao for more than 100 years in a commercial way. And I studying the market, I noticed that we got a good possibility for the Puerto Rico to go back and try again. So we started in 2008 with the idea to restore again the real cacao farming industry in the island and chocolate making industry. And we started giving workshops and expanding and sharing with our ideas with the other people. So the movement started growing up, and it passed 16 years now, and we put in ground more than 1 million trees around the island.
Already 1 million trees
1
now.
1 million trees. We are exporting cacao to the mainland in the United States since 2015. And in 2021, we opened up a factory here in Puerto Rico. And now we have a production line, a product that we are distributing around the island in the major supermarket chains of the island. And that's something that did not happen in 100 years. So we are very proud of that, and Puerto Rican loves our chocolate. U.S. people, mainland, which is a main point that we export the product, they love it too. And we make selections of cacao trees or varieties to have the kind of quality in our chocolate. So we are focused on primarily on flavors, and has our special flavors for the island. So the people, when taste our chocolate, say that this is something else, this is something different. It's because we made a selection of the best clones that we found, and we giving those to the farmers, and they start growing the farm with that. At the same time, we're putting a lot of attention in the distribution channel, because most of the farming project, that's the problem they have. So they produce something, but they don't have a distribution channel. And that way, what we are trying to do is just developing our factory. We are buying for the small farmers. We guarantee them to buy their production. And that way, we create a distribution channel. At the same time, we are opening accounts in different states in the United States with different chocolatiers and different companies, and showing all the product that we are producing now, and we are capable to export in a large amount. So we are ready for that. We are also running a plan to increase the overall production in the island. We get plans to put in ground 1 million trees, or maybe 1.5 million in the next 5-6 years. And that's why we enhance our nursery capacity to produce the trees we want, with the quality we want, and the productivity for the farmer, because it's very important the farmer get the income they need to maintain the project running. So we are focused on all that. And that's the future for the overall industry in the island. So we are looking for enhance the production to be capable to export to other continents like Europe and any other country that would like to work with our chocolate.
So the next question I have for you, Juan, is what makes the Puerto Rican chocolate unique and better than all the other chocolate grown out there? I know a lot of chocolate for people comes from Africa, and they focus on the price, like a low price, and you are focusing on quality. Is this correct? And what are the flavors that people really get in your special varieties of the cacao or chocolate?
Okay, well, when we started the project, the first thing that we did was to make a selection. How we made the selection? So we found different clones or trees, and then we sent the sample to master chocolatiers, and they made the chocolate with that and get a feedback to us, which are the best ones, the best flavors, and all that. So the idea was that because we are not farming in the island, we need to have a selection. So we give those to the farmers, and no matter where the cacao grows in the island, the flavor will be the same, because we are using the same material. So we focus on fine chocolate that has notes like tropical fruits, flowers, different combinations. And because all the farms are developed with those ones, we got consistency of that flavors. So no matter whether cacao grows in the island, we'll have the same flavor frame. So, and that's make us unique. We start participating in international competition in 2017. And from there, or to 2025, all the samples sent to Puerto Rico to different competition are winning prize. Sometimes silver, gold, or bronze, but we are in the top all the time. And what that means that the selection we did at the beginning is giving us what we want. And this also when the people who love chocolate taste our chocolate said, this is something different. And they figured out that this is really different. So we are focused on that. We are focused on producing something very, very special because producing in the island is expensive. We had to pay federal wages. We had to comply with all federal regulations. And it's the only cacao grown in USA. It's the only one grown in USA because the other place that can grow cacao in USA is Hawaii, but the Hawaii production is very small, and they produce or maintain all locally. And so the mainland and other chocolatiers cannot have beans from Hawaii to work. So here we focus on producing, for the master chocolatiers, producing beans or producing chocolate, whatever they want. And that's why we're increasing the amount of trees around the island because we are looking for industrial production, a real good production, to be capable to export the beans out. But the reality, what makes us different is that we start off with the selection. And that's what we are continuing moving forward with that.
Wonderful. So yeah, you guys all saw the nursery in the beginning of this episode where they're basically giving you guys we're creating the trees that they could sell you and you could make your own cacao farm. So Juan, do you want to talk about that? How you're helping people bring investment to the islands and buy land and put in cacao trees and how soon they could make their money back?
Yeah. Well, since we started in 2008, we started, giving information and sharing information with everybody. And we already helped some people that coming from the States and buy land in the island and establish the farm, the life here. And they're growing the farms. So we are giving them the best trees that we have in our collection. So the way that they can develop their own farms in cacao, we are willing to buy all the production, but if they decide to make their own chocolate, so we got some of them that do that. They produce their own cacao and they make their own chocolate and sell for a given market, particular market. So that's another opportunity they have. So another way that we help all the farmers that come in. So if somebody want to buy a farm in Puerto Rico, say coming from the state or any other country and want to buy a farm in Puerto Rico, sometimes we assist them in the evaluating the quality of the land that they are buying, and if that land gets is good for the purpose they want it. So that way we help from the beginning, and at the end, if they decide to buy the property and they decide to develop it, so we are there to help them to tell them how to develop, which the way to plant the trees and all that. So we got all that information for them, and we have several projects that have been developed that way that is already in production right now. There is some key, let's say, points that anyone that want to buy or to develop a farm need to take care in consideration. We see that we are not promoting the monocrop of cacao. What we are promoting in the island is the combined products in the same farm. So you can have different fruits, you can have plantains, bananas, you can have other trees, and the main plantation will be cacao, but maybe 75%, 70%, and the other 30% can be other combination with trees that help the cacao to be more productive. And that way, the overall farm is more productive too. And we are more similar to the forest approach, with everything grows together. And we are applying that principles to be as natural as possible. So most of our farm, we don't apply any kind of chemicals on it. We are just using compost, and the combination of trees that helping one to each other to grow and produce better. That's the approach that we are using in our farms.
And what's the ROI on investing or buying the land and buying the cacao trees? Like, what is the ROI for the farmer?
Well, that depends the size of the farm and how big is investment that you are doing. But the cacao normally start producing in 2 years, 2.5 years. And the average life for a cocoa tree over past 30 years.
30 years.
So you make your investment in a given period of time, maybe 1-2 years, but then your farm will last for over 30 years. So the return on investment will be fast, but will be long too. For a long time, you will not have to plant more trees in your farm. Your farm is already developed. So that one of the advantages compared with other crops. Other crops, you need to plant it then every year or every 4 or 5 years. So you have to make an investment again. But the cacao is better long life product, so it stay there for a long time. And the other thing is that in Puerto Rico, we don't have any disease that attack the cacao. It's clean, completely clean. So that way the trees will be healthy and we producing more and we be free of any chemical to control any disease because we don't have it. It's completely different to other countries. All the other countries has disease, we don't have it. So, and we don't have it because we are just starting with the cacao again. We have about 100 years that we do not grow cacao, so all the disease that maybe are in the island at that time disappear. So,
I want to let you guys know that I got cacao trees from Juan today, and that I'll be planting myself on my farm. I'm not going to sell my excess to Juan because I'm going to be either eating it or processing myself, but I'm glad to have the best cacao growing soon, maybe later today, on my farm. So speaking about best cacao, Juan, let's talk about some of the products that Jean Marie Chocolat makes available to you guys online and can ship to chocolatiers around the world. So what do we got here, Juan?
Well, here let's start for the, this is the cacao husk. This is a product that comes from when we roast the beans and we crack the beans and we clean it and separate the nibs from the husk. This is the husk. It has a small percentage of nibs inside because when you are doing the process, you keep something. But this is very good for tea, any kind of tea that preparation that you want to make. There is other possibilities for this product, and this is the first one. The second one that we have here are the nibs, the clean nibs. After taking out the husk, then you have the nibs. People like to buy this one. It's roasted cacao beans. Naturally, there's nothing in more than cacao, and people do a lot of things with this, so they love it. So the other thing that we produce is the powder. So the cocoa powder, as I said before, this one is 100% cacao. It's just a whole cacao powder. There's no chemical, nothing. It's just cacao powder. And then this is a real thing. So you can do whatever you want. You can do different beverage, hot, cool, or you can make baking with this, cakes or whatever. You can melt it and have a small mold and prepare your 100% chocolate bar.
Yeah, you want to do it in a double broiler.
Yeah, that's
Don't burn the cacao. This will burn, guys.
Yeah. So that's a pure thing. So we got different sizes. This is 6 ounces, 10 ounces, but some people ask for more, so we are capable to ship you more if you want it. So we have another version, which is the 55% cacao. In this one, we use turbinated brown sugar, organic turbinated brown sugar, to the base, which is 100% cacao. So we don't press in any moment. So you get sweet chocolate here. So you can melt it, and you make a bar in the mold, small bar, and then you get a bar. that would be like a 55% chocolate bar. Very, very nice, good, very nice.
And it's a true chocolate bar because all it is sugar and the 100% cacao. Nothing, no additives, no fillers, nothing else.
Yeah. We focus on that. We want to give our customer the experience to taste real chocolate, because in the market they are putting a lot of components that are not related to cacao. So it's just for long lasting, for preserve, introduce certain fillers to cut the cost of the real thing. So that's the way they handle the situation. We want to work with only pure 100% cacao. That's it. So the other thing that we produce are the chocolate bars. We got two of them. We got the 75% dark chocolate bar. This one is just 100% cacao plus 25% turbinate brown sugar. That's it. There's only two components in this bar. The other version that we are selling is our milky bar, but our milky bar is with coconut milk.
So it's vegan.
It's vegan. We are not using the lactose. So this one is 65% dark chocolate. It's about 15% turbinate brown sugar, and the 20% is the cocoa milk. And that's a very, very tasty one, and very nice to do the transition from the regular chocolate or candies to the real chocolate, because you don't feel the heavy punch when you have it. So, but very, very nice. So those are the products that we got in bars. In the future, we're going to produce other combinations, but these are the ones that we got in our webpage right now.
So, all right, Juan, while you have these retail products, let's talk about how you can ship the large volumes of the clean beans to, chocolatiers around the world.
Yes.
So they can have the best quality beans grown right here in Puerto Rico, USA.
Yeah. Some for the question. So we got two kind of customers. So we got the ones that buy the regular packet chocolate that we produce. Other buy the what we call couverture, which is the main block that you saw there. So you sell
the whole block?
Some of them buy blocks from us, especially the confectioners, the one that makes their own truffles and all that in the chocolate store.
So it's much easier to use, so they don't have to do some of the processing, and because you invested in a lot of equipment to do some of the special processing.
But we got the other ones. The other ones are the master chocolatiers that buy beans, because they want to control from roasting or to finishing the chocolate. So they got all the machinery to make the chocolate by themselves. So for those ones, we sell one of the cleanest beans in the market. So we cleanse our beans when coming from the farm, take out all the small parts or whatever. The way that when the chocolatiers receive the beans, they just roast it. They don't have to clean beans, or they don't be aware for nothing like that. So we provide the cleanest beans, the fresh beans, because we maintain a FIFO, which is first in, first out. So we move our inventory every 3-4 months, and new product coming from the farms, because the cacao in Puerto Rico produces the whole year. So the whole year we got production, and we got fresh beans all the time. So if I got a customer in the mainland, in 4 or 5 days they get the beans. If they buy beans from other country, it takes maybe a month or maybe more to reach the place. So our beans always be fresh, clean, and grow with all the rules established by the USDA Agriculture Department, because all that rules apply to Puerto Rico, because we are the only one in the USA producing cacao, according to the Agriculture Department ruling, the USDA Agriculture Department ruling. So clean beans, high quality, and percentage of the production for the chocolatiers higher, because we have one of the biggest beans in the market. which the ratio is about 80 to 20. 80 Nibs, 20 would be the Husks. Most of the beans in the market are maybe 60-40. So we have a lot of advantage for the main chocolatiers. And something that I want to mention is that we are trying to cut costs selling direct. If you are seeing me and you are a chocolatier, small chocolatier store, but you buy beans, you can buy direct from us.
From the farmer.
From the farmer. You don't need to talk to a distributor to find our beans. You go to our webpage and fill the order that we get there for the manufacturers, and we can supply you directly the beans you may need.
In 4 to 5 days in the U.S.
Yeah.
Very fast.
Very fast.
And the highest quality.
High quality. And then we can give you a very competitive price for a small amount of buying, because most of the time when they buy from you buy from distributors, they request a given amount of pounds buy to give a price. So what we are offering is trying to help you controlling your inventory in your small store and buy what you need to maintain you running with a fresh product. So that's very, very important, because sometimes you buy product that you cannot process and you're just sitting there and it's money that you got in your warehouse. We try to help our customer that way.
Wonderful. So Juan, are there any other final thoughts that you'd like to share with my viewers today that are watch this whole video?
Well, but I can say, if you want to buy pure chocolate, grow clean, without any chemicals, and fresh, and produced in the U.S. according USDA Agricultural Department rules by cacao or chocolate from Puerto Rico, from Jean Marie Chocolat. That's what I can say.
Wonderful. So if you guys want to start your own chocolate farm and buy the plants from Juan, so you could have your own chocolate trees here in beautiful Puerto Rico, or you want to buy some of the products here that you've seen in this episode, how can somebody contact you, Juan, and order products online?
Yes. Visit our webpage, visit www.gmchocolate.com, and there you can see our store. You can buy directly there. If you are a manufacturer, you are a chocolatier, there is a form that you can fill for that kind of customers. We'll be back to you and establish a communication to see which is the best alternative for both parties.
All right, wonderful. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, learning all about cacao today, from how it literally goes from the trees in the nursery, or the beans out of the pod, to the trees in the nursery, to the farm, and then finally to the factory here where they make the best cacao products in Puerto Rico and maybe even the world. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Also, more importantly, share this with other people, especially chocolatiers and people that want to find the best cacao on the planet. It's probably grown right here in Puerto Rico, because once again, all natural, clean. They don't have diseases. They don't have to spray the trees with chemicals like other places, right? Grows naturally in the rich soil here in Puerto Rico, right? Once again, links down below for Jean Marie Chocolate. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on new and upcoming episodes. I've committed 5 to 7 days. You're going to know where I show up, what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. And I'll put links down below to the previous episodes I've made here at Jean Marie Chocolate, so you guys could learn more about this amazing farm and man, Juan, that makes all this happen. So with that, my name is John Cola with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing.